The space station floated quietly between the stars. Kepler Station was huge, bigger than most cities on Earth. Ships from dozens of different worlds came here to talk instead of fight. It was a place where wars ended and peace began. Ambassador. Helen Martinez walked down the long metal hallway. Her shoes made soft sounds on the floor. She was tired but happy. Another war had been stopped today. The Zephyrian Empire and the Veltar traders had been ready to kill each other over shipping routes. Now they would share the space lanes instead. Captain Jake Morrison watched her from across the room. He had been her guard for 3 years now. Helen never acted like she needed protection, but Jake knew better. There were many aliens who hated humans. Some hated them enough to kill. Another successful day, Captain, Helen said with a smile. She was 50 years old but looked younger. Her brown hair was pulled back neatly. Her voice was always calm and kind. Yes, ma'am. The Zephyrians looked ready to start shooting when they arrived this morning. Helen laughed softly. They always look ready to start shooting. That's why they need someone to remind them that talking works better than fighting. The celebration dinner was held in the station's main hall. Beings from 12 different worlds sat at the same table. The Zephyrians were tall and covered in gray scales. The Veltar looked like walking trees with too many arms. Other aliens were even stranger to human eyes. Commander Lisa Park, the station's doctor, sat near Helen. Lisa was young for such an important job, but she was the best medical officer in the human fleet. She watched the aliens carefully. Some of their foods could kill humans just by smell. Try this, said Ambassador Korvac from the Merchant Coalition. He was a Veltar, his bark-like skin rough and brown. He offered Helen a small blue fruit. Helen took it politely. She always tried local foods when she could. It showed respect. She bit into the fruit. It tasted sweet and reminded her of berries from Earth. Security Chief Tony Blake stood near the wall. He never sat down at these dinners. His job was to watch for danger. Tony was a big man with gray hair and sharp eyes. He had fought in the border wars before becoming a guard. The dinner went well. Aliens who had wanted to kill each other that morning were now sharing drinks and laughing. This was Helen's gift. She could make enemies see each other as people instead of targets. An hour into the dinner, Helen put down her glass. Her hand was shaking. Ambassador? Lisa asked. She noticed everything when it came to health. Helen tried to smile, but her face was pale. I feel a little dizzy. Too much excitement today, I think. Lisa stood up quickly. She had seen poison before. We need to get you to the medical bay, now. Helen started to argue, but then fell forward. Jake caught her before she hit the floor. Her breathing was fast and shallow. Sweat covered her face. Clear the room, Tony shouted. His hand went to his weapon. Nobody leaves the station. Lisa and Jake carried Helen to the medical bay. The hallway seemed longer than usual. Helen's body was getting hot. She was making small sounds of pain. In the medical bay, Lisa worked fast. She ran tests while Helen lay on the examination table. The machines beeped and showed numbers that made Lisa's face go white. What is it? Jake asked. Vorthak poison, Lisa said quietly. I've only read about it. It's made from a plant that grows on 3 worlds. It causes terrible pain before. She couldn't finish the sentence. Helen opened her eyes. Even that small movement seemed to hurt her. Jake, she whispered. I'm here, ma'am. Don't let them turn my death into an excuse for the darkness I spent my life fighting. Her voice was so quiet he had to lean close to hear. You're not going to die, Jake said, but he could see the truth in Lisa's eyes. Promise me, Helen said. Her hand grabbed, his arm weakly. I promise, Jake said. Tony came into the medical bay. His face was angry. I found who did it, server named Kellix. He's from the Helix Nebula. When we went to arrest him, he was already dead. Poison in his own drink. Suicide? Lisa asked. Or someone made sure he couldn't talk, Tony said. Helen made a sound. They all turned to look at her. She was trying to speak. What is it? Jake asked. Tell them. I tried to show them we could be better. Those were her last words. The machine stopped beeping. The woman who had prevented 14 wars and saved billions of lives was gone. Lisa closed Helen's eyes gently. Time of death, 22:47 station time. Jake stood up slowly. His hands were shaking, but not from sadness. The shaking came from something much more dangerous. He looked at Tony and Lisa. They had the same look in their eyes. "Send a message to Earth," Jake said. His voice sounded different now, colder. "Tell them Ambassador Martinez is dead, murdered." Tony nodded. "What else should I tell them?" Jake looked down at Helen's peaceful face. She had spent 15 years trying to build bridges between humans and aliens. She believed that talking could solve any problem. She died trying to prove that humans could choose peace over war. "Tell them that the peace party is over," Jake said. The news traveled fast, through space. Every human ship, every human colony, every human military base got the same message. The woman they called the Peacemaker was dead, killed by those who thought humans were too weak to fight back. They were about to learn how wrong they were. On Earth, Admiral Karen Hayes read the message 3 times. She had known Helen for 20 years. They had served together during the border wars before Helen became a diplomat. Karen walked to her office window. She could see the orbital shipyards where humanity's fleet waited. Most aliens thought humans only had a few hundred ships. They were wrong about that too. Karen picked up her communication device. "This is Admiral Hayes. Send orders to all fleet commands. Recall all diplomatic personnel. Cancel all trade agreements. We have work to do. Our human era of peaceful diplomacy was ending. What came next would remind the galaxy why humans had been so grateful to have an alternative. The Galactic Council Emergency Assembly met on Sanctum Prime. The planet was neutral ground, chosen long ago because no single species could claim it. The Great Hall was built from crystal that changed colors with the light. Today it looked dark, and cold Council Speaker Vexani floated above the assembly. The ethereal Dominion leader had no solid body, just energy held together by will. When Vexani spoke, the voice came from everywhere at once. "We gather in tragedy," Vexani said. "The human ambassador Helen Martinez is dead. This loss saddens us all." Admiral Karen Hayes sat in the human section. She was alone. Usually there were 12 human representatives here. Today, only she remained. Her uniform was dark blue, and her gray hair was pulled back tight. She said nothing. Senator Velnix of the Triumvirate stood up. He was tall and thin, with purple skin and 4 arms. "While we mourn this loss, we must remember that emotional reactions help no one. The humans must not let grief cloud their judgment." Other aliens nodded. The crystalline shard high made sounds like wind chimes. The gaseous nebula collective pulsed with different colors. They all seemed to agree. "Perhaps," said Ambassador Thekvar from the Helix Nebula, "this incident shows that humans are too fragile for dangerous diplomatic work. Maybe they should focus on safer jobs." Karen's hands were folded in her lap. She had not moved for an hour. When she finally stood up, the entire hall went quiet. "I have heard enough," Karen said. Her voice was calm and clear. "The Terran Federation is ending all diplomatic relations with the Galactic Council. We are canceling every trade agreement. All humans will leave Council space within 72 hours. Vexani's energy form flickered. "Admiral Hayes, surely. This is too extreme. One death, however tragic, should not end decades of cooperation." Karen looked around the hall. Hundreds of alien eyes stared back at her. "You call it one death. I call it murder. You offer empty words while the killers walk free." "The investigation continues," said Senator Velnix. "Justice will be served." "Your justice is too slow," Karen said. "Human justice is faster." She turned and walked toward the exit. Her footsteps echoed in the crystal hall. "Admiral Hayes," Vexani called. "What will Earth do now?" Karen stopped at the door. She did not turn around. "You will find out." The message went out across the galaxy within hours. All human ships were ordered home. Human traders packed up and left alien ports. Human scientists abandoned their research stations. Human diplomats boarded the next ships to Earth. The aliens were confused. They had grown used to human presence. Human traders brought useful goods. Human diplomats solved problems. Human scientists shared their discoveries freely. Now they were all leaving, and no one seemed to know why this was happening over one ambassador's death. Commander Rick Stone piloted the stealth ship UTS Shadowhawk through the Helix Nebula. His ship was invisible to most sensors. The Shadowhawk had been hunting the people who killed Helen Martinez. Rick was good at finding things that did not want to be found. He had been a spy during the border wars. Now he hunted killers. What he found made him angry. The server who poisoned Helen was not acting alone. Rick traced money payments, secret messages, and hidden meetings. The murder was planned by a group called the Purity Coalition. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was that the Purity Coalition had help. Big help. 3 major council members had given them money and information. They wanted to test human resolve and put the newcomers in their place. The aliens thought humans were too soft, too peaceful, too trusting. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Rick sent his report to Admiral Hayes. Then he set course for the Coalition's main base on Zarian 7. He was not going there to arrest anyone. Back on Earth, Karen Hayes stood in the war room deep under military command. The room was filled with screens showing star maps and ship positions. Officers moved quietly between the displays. "Status report," Karen said. General Patricia Cole stepped forward. She was a small woman with iron gray hair and cold blue eyes. "All diplomatic personnel are home safe. Trade routes are closed. Our people are out of council space." "Good. What about the fleets?" "Ready for your orders, Admiral. All ships are at battle stations." Karen looked at the star map. Red dots showed human positions. Blue dots showed alien fleets. There were a lot more red dots than the aliens knew about. "Begin Phase 1, Karen said. The aliens had made a mistake. They thought humanity's peaceful nature meant humans were weak. They thought human diplomats were the only humans that mattered. They forgot that humans had been warriors long before they became diplomats. They forgot that choosing peace was not the same as being unable to fight. Most importantly, they forgot that humans had spent 50 years preparing for the day when peace might fail. Hidden shipyards throughout human space came alive. Ships that were supposedly scrapped or decommissioned powered up their engines. Orbital defense platforms emerged from asteroid fields where they had waited for decades. The human fleet was not the few hundred ships the aliens knew about. It was thousands of ships, with weapons and technology that had been kept secret for 50 years. Captain Sam Turner led his fighter squadron out of a hidden base inside a dead star. His ship was smaller than most alien fighters, but it was faster and carried weapons that could cut through any known shield. "Remember," Sam told his pilots, "we gave them every chance to choose peace. They chose murder instead." His target was a Purity Coalition cell on Rigel Station. The base was hidden inside a mining operation. The aliens thought no one knew it was there. They were wrong. Sam's fighters appeared without warning. The attack lasted 12 minutes. When it was over, Rigel Station was gone. No trace remained except floating debris and emergency beacons. The same thing happened at 17 other locations across the galaxy. Purity Coalition bases that had operated in secret for years were destroyed in coordinated strikes. The attacks were so precise and fast that no one could respond in time. On Sanctum Prime, emergency alarms rang through the crystal halls. Vexani called another assembly. "The humans have attacked multiple locations," Vexani announced. "This is an act of war." But when the aliens tried to contact Earth, they got the same message everywhere. The Terran Federation is not accepting communications at this time. Senator Velnick stood up with his forearms waving. "This is madness. We must stop them." "With what?" asked Ambassador Thekvar. His voice was worried now. "Half our intelligence networks just disappeared. We cannot even find their ships." The truth was starting to become clear. The aliens had thought they knew humanity. They thought humans were farmers and traders and diplomats who happened to have a small military for protection. They were wrong. Humans were a warrior species that had chosen to become farmers and traders and diplomats. But when that choice was rejected, when their peacemakers were murdered for trying to build bridges, the warriors came back. And these warriors had spent 50 years getting ready for this day. Admiral Hayes broadcast a message to the galaxy from the bridge of the UTS Retribution. The ship was massive, bigger than most space stations. Behind her, through the viewports, hundreds of other warships could be seen. Most aliens had never heard of the Retribution. Most aliens had never seen ships like the ones in that fleet. "This is Admiral Karen Hayes of the Terran Federation," she said. Her voice was calm and cold. Ambassador Helen Martinez spent her life proving that humanity could choose peace over war. Her murderers have chosen to reject that gift. She paused, looking directly into the camera. They will now learn why we were so grateful to have an alternative. The message from Admiral Hayes spread across the galaxy faster than light. Every species heard her words. Every government understood the threat. But understanding and believing were different things. The Zephyrian Empire was first to test human resolve. War Commander Sektoth had been planning to attack human colonies for months. He thought humans were weak traders who would surrender quickly. 3 battle fleets should be enough, Sektoth told his officers. His scales were dark red, showing his excitement for battle. The humans have only a few patrol ships on their border worlds. The Zephyrian fleets moved toward the human colony of New Texas. The planet looked defenseless. Only 2 small patrol ships orbited the world. Sektoth smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "Send a surrender demand," he ordered. "Tell them they have 1 hour." The human response came back quickly. "We decline." Sektoth laughed. "Then we will show them the price of refusing Zephyrian power." His fleets moved into attack formation. 600 ships against 2 patrol vessels and 1 farming planet. It should have been a quick victory. Then space around the Zephyrian fleets exploded. Hidden platforms emerged from asteroid fields. Weapons fired from empty space where no ships could be seen. The carefully planned attack became chaos in seconds. "Commander," Beth Rogers watched from the bridge of the stealth destroyer UTS Silent Thunder. Her ship was invisible to Zephyrian sensors along with 50 other human vessels. "All platforms online," reported her weapons officer. "Target lock on all enemy ships." "Fire at will," Beth said calmly. The Zephyrian ships had thick armor and powerful shields. Their weapons could destroy cities, but human technology had moved far beyond what the aliens knew. Human plasma beams cut through Zephyrian shields like they were paper. Quantum torpedoes appeared inside enemy ships without passing through their hulls. Railguns fired projectiles that moved faster than light itself. In 20 minutes, 3 Zephyrian battle fleets were gone. Not defeated, gone. The only things left were debris fields and automated distress beacons. War Commander Sektoth's flagship was the last to die. As his ship broke apart around him, he sent one final message. "What are you?" The answer came from Admiral Hayes, broadcast to every Zephyrian world. "We are what you made us choose to become." On Earth, President Nathan Clark stood in the Situation Room deep under the Capitol building. Screens showed battles across the galaxy. Red lights marked human victories. There were a lot of red lights. "Status report," Nathan said. "General Patricia." Cole pointed to the main display. The Zephyrian test failed. All 3 fleets destroyed, no human casualties. "Good. What about the Purity Coalition?" "Commander Stone has eliminated 70% of their cells. The rest are running." Nathan nodded. He was a calm man who had spent 30 years in politics, but Helen Martinez had been his friend. They had worked together to build the peace that was now ending. And the council members who funded the assassination? General Cole smiled coldly. "Phase 2 begins in 6 hours. The Triumvirate had thought they were safe. Their 3 worlds were far from human space, protected by powerful fleets and orbital defense platforms. Senator Velnick sat in his office on the Capitol world, reading reports of human attacks. "Impossible," he said to his aide. "How can they have so many ships? Our intelligence says they have only a small fleet." "Perhaps our intelligence was wrong," The aide suggested carefully. Intelligence cannot be that wrong, Velnix insisted. Find out what is really happening. He would never get his answer. Captain Sam Turner led his fighter squadron through hyperspace toward the triumvirate capital. His ships moved in a way that should have been impossible, jumping directly into the heart of enemy space without using normal entry points. The triumvirate's orbital defenses were powerful. Energy shields surrounded their planets. Battle stations guarded every approach. Sensor networks watched all of space for light years in every direction. None of them detected the human fighters until it was too late. Sam's ships appeared inside. The orbital defenses. Human technology had found ways to move through space that the aliens did not understand. The attack was over before the defenders knew it had begun. The triumvirate lost their entire government in one night. Not their armies or their fleets, just the people who had decided to murder human diplomats. The strikes were so precise that Senator Velnix's aide, sitting in the next room, was not even hurt. This was the message. Humans could reach anyone, anywhere, at any time. Fighting their armies was pointless when they could simply remove the people giving orders. Fear spread across the galaxy faster than news of the attacks. If humans could strike the heart of the triumvirate without warning, nowhere was safe. Commander, Rick Stone finished his hunt on the mining world of Kappa Tertius. The Purity Coalition had built their largest training base here, hidden inside old mine shafts. 3,000 Coalition soldiers trained here, learning to hate and kill humans. Rick's team was only 12 people, but they had equipment the Coalition had never seen. Personal shields that stopped energy weapons, armor that made them invisible, guns that fired through solid rock. The attack lasted 4 hours. When it was over, the Purity Coalition's main army was gone. Rick left one survivor, a communications officer who could spread the word. Tell everyone what happened here, Rick told the terrified alien. Tell them what happens to people who murder our diplomats. Back on Sanctum Prime, the Galactic Council tried to meet again, but half the council members were dead or missing. The others were too afraid to leave their home worlds. Vexani floated alone in the Crystal Hall trying to understand what had gone wrong. The ethereal leader had lived for 3,000 years and seen many wars. But this was different. How? Vexani whispered. How did we miss this? The answer came in a message from Earth. Admiral Hayes appeared on every screen in the galaxy at the same time. Behind her stood human officers that aliens had never seen before, people with ranks and uniforms that had been kept secret for 50 years. You want to know how? Karen said, as if she had heard Vexani's question. You thought you knew us. You thought we were farmers and traders who happened to have a small military. She gestured to the officers behind her. These are our real military leaders, people you never knew existed, ships you never knew we built, weapons you never knew we had. The camera pulled back to show the massive war room where Karen stood. Thousands of officers worked at control stations. Screens showed the positions of fleets across the galaxy. We spent 50 years building this, Karen continued. 50 years preparing for the day when someone would be stupid enough to kill our peacemakers. She leaned forward, staring into the camera. You killed Helen Martinez because you thought we were weak. You thought choosing peace meant we could not choose war. Her voice became quieter, which somehow made it more frightening. Helen spent 15 years proving that humans could be better than our nature. She died believing that talking was better than fighting. Karen stood up straight. Her death proved that our nature is what kept the galaxy safe all along. The transmission ended, but its message was clear. The galaxy had been protected not by treaties or laws, but by humanity's choice to be merciful. Now that mercy was gone. On 1,000 worlds, alien leaders looked at their military advisors and asked the same question. Can we fight them? The answer was always the same. No. The human war machine was too big, too advanced, and too well prepared. They had spent 50 years getting ready for this day while the aliens thought they were playing farmer and trader. But the most frightening thing was not human technology or human numbers. It was human precision. They did not attack civilians or destroy cities. They removed only the people who had chosen to make war on diplomats. This was not conquest. This was surgery, and the patient was the entire galaxy. 6 months after Helen Martinez died, the galaxy was quiet. Not the good kind of quiet that comes from peace. The frightened kind of quiet that comes when everyone is afraid to make noise. The Galactic Council no longer existed. In its place stood the Terran hegemony. Every major alien government had either surrendered completely or been replaced by human-appointed leaders. The rules were simple: obey or be removed. Admiral Karen Hayes stood on the observation deck of Kepler Station. The same station where Helen had died now served as the capital of human space. Ships from across the galaxy came here, but they came as supplicants, not equals. "The morning briefing, Admiral," said Captain Jake Morrison. He carried a datapad with reports from across known space. "How many requests today?" Karen asked. 47 species asking for protectorate status, 12 trade applications, 6 requests for human military protection. Karen nodded. It was the same every day. Aliens, who had once seen humans as weak farmers, now begged for human protection from each other. Any security threats? None. The galaxy has been completely peaceful for 3 months. Karen almost smiled. Helen would have liked that part. The peace was real, but it was not the kind Helen had dreamed of. This peace came from fear, not understanding. It existed because everyone knew what happened to those who disturbed it. Dr. Lisa Park, now head of the Galactic Medical Authority, worked in her laboratory deep inside the station. She was developing new ways to detect poison, the kind that had killed Helen. Her research was protected by security that made military bases look vulnerable. "Any progress on the antidotes?" asked her assistant, Dr. Kevin Ross. "We now have treatments for over 3,000 different toxins," Lisa replied, "including the Vorthak poison that killed the ambassador. Will this prevent future assassinations?" Lisa looked up from her microscope. "The poisoners are all dead, Kevin. This is to make sure they stay that way." It was true. The people who had made the poison that killed Helen no longer existed. Neither did their families, their assistants, their suppliers, or anyone who had helped them. Human justice had been thorough. Commander Rick Stone, now head of Human Intelligence Services, sat in an office that did not officially exist. His organization monitored every communication, every movement, every thought of potential threats across the galaxy. "Report," Rick said to his aide, Agent Mary Phillips. "All quiet across the major sectors. The Zephyrian Empire is rebuilding, under human oversight. The Triumvirate survivors are requesting permission to form a new government. The Helix Nebula rebels have been silent for 4 months. Define silent." "Dead silent, sir. Our last operation removed their final cell." Rick nodded. There were no more rebels because there was nothing left to rebel against. Human rule was complete and absolute. Resistance was not just futile. It was literally impossible. The annual Martinez Memorial Service was held in the main plaza of Kepler Station. Representatives from every species in the galaxy attended. They came not from love, but from requirement. Missing the service was considered an act of defiance against human authority. Admiral Hayes stood at the podium, looking out at the crowd. Thousands of aliens sat in perfect silence. Their fear was so thick it could almost be touched. Behind Hayes stood a simple monument, a metal plaque with Helen's final words. "Don't let them turn my death into an excuse for the darkness I spent my life fighting." Ambassador Martinez was wrong about one thing, Hayes said to the silent crowd. Her voice carried clearly across the plaza. She believed that darkness was something to be fought against, something to be avoided. Hayes paused, letting her words sink in. She did not understand that sometimes darkness is not an excuse. Sometimes it is a necessity. A Veltar delegate in the front row shifted nervously. Hayes's eyes found him immediately. She spent her life proving that humanity could choose to be better than our nature. Hayes continued. Her death proved that our nature is what kept the galaxy safe all along. Hayes stepped closer to the microphone. For 50 years we chose mercy over justice. We chose talking over fighting. We chose peace over victory. Her voice became quieter, which somehow made it more frightening. You taught us that these choices were seen as weakness. You murdered the woman who embodied those choices. Hayes gestured to the monument behind her. So we stopped choosing to be better than our nature. We became what we have always been beneath, the surface, the species that conquered its own world before reaching for the stars. The ceremony ended with the lighting of the memorial beacon. The light could be seen from anywhere in the galaxy, a reminder of humanity's greatest diplomat and a warning about what happened when diplomacy failed. As the crowd dispersed, the aliens moved quietly and carefully. They had learned that sudden movements or loud voices could attract human attention. Human attention was something no one wanted anymore. President Nathan Clark watched the ceremony from Earth. His office was filled with reports from across the galaxy. Trade was flowing smoothly. Crime was almost non-existent. Wars had ended everywhere. It was the most peaceful the galaxy had ever been. It was also the most oppressive. "Mr. President," said his chief of staff, Secretary Linda Bell, "the economic reports show record prosperity across human space. And alien space? Also prosperous, sir. Amazing what happens when everyone follows the same rules." Nathan nodded. The rules were simple. Humans led, aliens followed. Anyone who disagreed disappeared quietly. It was efficient, effective, and completely against everything Helen had believed in. But it worked. Captain Sam Turner patrolled the outer rim in his fighter squadron. These days, patrol meant showing the flag more than hunting enemies. There were no enemies left, only subjects and protectorates. "Control, this is Patrol 7, Sam reported. "Sector 12 is clear, no military activity detected." "Confirmed. Patrol 7, maintain standard sweep pattern." Sam's job had become easier over the months. No one challenged human ships anymore. No one fired on human installations. No one even approached human space without permission. It was boring, but Sam remembered the days when boring meant people were not dying. Helen would have liked the boring parts. The galaxy now existed under what historians would call the Long Peace. It was a period of unprecedented stability maintained not by treaties and negotiations, but by the absolute certainty that disturbing the peace meant facing consequences that made extinction seem merciful. Every alien child learned the same lesson in school. Humans had offered friendship and been given poison in return. Now they offered protection and expected obedience. The choice was simple. On Sanctum Prime, the empty council chambers had been converted into a museum. Visitors could see where the old galaxy had tried to govern itself through discussion and compromise. Tours ended at the memorial wall listing the species that had tried to resist human authority. The list was long, but it never grew. There was no one left to add to it. Commander Beth Rogers, now a general, oversaw the integration of former enemy fleets into human service. Alien ships served under human commanders, with alien crews learning human discipline. "How are the integration programs progressing?" asked Admiral Hayes during her weekly review. "Ahead of schedule," Beth reported. "Former Zephyrian warships are now part of Third Fleet. Triumvirate vessels have joined the patrol forces. Even the Shardhai have adapted to human command structure. Any resistance?" "None worth mentioning, ma'am. Everyone understands the alternatives." The alternatives were well known. Species that could not adapt to human leadership simply ceased to exist, not through genocide or conquest, but through the quiet removal of anyone who could not accept the new reality. The galaxy had learned to hold its breath around humans. Every planet, every ship, every government knew that humanity was watching, listening, and judging. The judgment was simple: conform or disappear. Late at night, when the memorial plaza was empty, Admiral Hayes sometimes stood alone at Helen's monument. She would read the inscription and remember her friend's voice, her gentle laugh, her absolute faith that talking could solve any problem. "I kept my promise," Karen would whisper to the memorial. "I didn't let them turn your death into an excuse for darkness." She paused, looking up at the stars that had once been free. "I let them turn it into a reason for darkness. There's a difference." The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath around the human empire. Solar systems that had known war for millennia now experienced perfect peace. Trade flowed freely because no one dared interrupt it. Pirates and raiders had vanished because the penalty for theft was extinction. Children across the galaxy grew up never knowing conflict, never fearing invasion, never worrying about war. They also grew up never questioning human authority, never speaking against human decisions, never imagining a world where humans were not in charge. It was peace. It was prosperity. It was safety. It was also everything Helen Martinez had died trying to prevent. But it worked. The galaxy was quiet, stable, and united under human leadership, and everyone knew that it would stay that way for as long as humanity chose to maintain it. The ambassador was dead, but her legacy lived on in the silence of a galaxy that had finally learned the difference between choosing peace and being forced to accept it. The stars stood still around humanity's fury, and they would continue standing still until humans decided to let them move again. 3 weeks after Helen Martinez died, the galaxy was a different place. The Galactic Council building on Sanctum Prime stood empty. Most council members were dead, missing, or hiding on their home worlds. The few survivors sent desperate messages to Earth, begging for mercy. Admiral Karen Hayes read their pleas from her command ship. Each message said the same thing. "We didn't know. We're sorry. Please stop." Karen deleted them all without answering. "Admiral," said Captain Jake Morrison. He had been promoted after Helen's death and now served as Karen's aide. "The council is calling for a ceasefire. They want to negotiate." Karen looked up from her reports. "Helen Martinez called for mercy. They murdered her for it." "What did they teach us about mercy, Captain?" "That it's seen as weakness, ma'am." "Correct. And we are no longer weak." The systematic destruction of anti-human factions continued across the galaxy. But it was not random violence. Every target was chosen carefully. Every strike had a purpose. General Patricia Cole stood in Mao, the planning room on Earth surrounded by star maps and target lists. Her staff worked quietly at their stations, coordinating attacks across dozens of star systems. "Status on Operation Cleansing Fire?" Patricia asked. 70% complete, replied Colonel Dave Wilson. "The Helix Nebula resistance is finished. The Shard-High militants are gone. The Vorthak poison makers have been eliminated." "Good. What about the government officials who supported the assassination?" "More difficult targets. They're hiding behind civilian populations." Patricia smiled coldly. "Then we go around the civilians." The operation that followed shocked even human military officers. Commander Beth Rogers led a team that eliminated the anti-human leadership of 6 different governments in one night. They did it without harming a single civilian or even damaging civilian buildings. The precision was terrifying. Government leaders simply vanished from secure bunkers, heavily guarded palaces, and secret hideouts. Family members in the same buildings were left untouched. Guards were found unconscious but unharmed. The message was clear. Human forces could reach anyone, anywhere without harming innocents. Fighting back was pointless when the enemy could simply remove leaders while leaving everyone else alone. On the world of Veltar Prime, the Merchant Coalition's leaders met in emergency session. Their capital city was beautiful, with tall spires reaching toward the sky. But beauty could not protect them from human justice. "We must surrender," said Trade Minister Colvex. His bark-like skin was pale with fear. "The humans can strike us whenever they choose." "Surrender to whom?" asked his aide. "The humans won't talk to us." It was true. Earth had stopped accepting communications from alien governments weeks ago. The only messages humans sent were warnings. "Remove anti-human elements from your government, or we will do it for you." Some governments tried to comply. They arrested their own officials and sent lists of names to Earth. But the human response was always the same. Silence. The truth was becoming clear. This was not a war that could be ended with surrender. This was judgment, and the verdict had already been decided. Commander Rick Stone completed his investigation into Helen's murder. What he found made even his hardened heart burn with anger. The assassination had not been the work of fanatics or random killers. It had been planned by a conspiracy that reached into the highest levels of alien government. 17 different species had contributed money or information to the Purity Coalition. They had not just wanted to kill Helen. They had wanted to test human will. They thought one dead ambassador would teach humans to be more humble. They wanted to send a message, Rick reported to Admiral Hayes. They wanted to show other species that humans could be killed with impunity. And what message are we sending back? Karen asked. That they were right about one thing. Humans can be killed. But they were wrong about what happens next. The final phase of human retaliation began with a broadcast from President Nathan Clark. He spoke from the Rose Garden of the White House, standing in front of a memorial statue of Helen Martinez. Nathan was a grandfather with kind eyes and a gentle voice. He looked like someone who would never hurt anyone. That made his words even more frightening. "My fellow beings of the galaxy," Nathan began, "3 weeks ago you murdered our ambassador. Helen Martinez was killed because she was human, because she believed in peace, because she thought you were better than your worst instincts." He paused, looking directly into the camera. "She was wrong about that last part." Nathan gestured to the statue behind him. "Helen spent her life proving that humans could choose to be better than our nature. Her death proved that our nature is what kept you safe all along." His voice remained calm and gentle, which made his next words more terrifying than any shouted threat. "You have seen what happens when we stop choosing to be better. You have learned why we were so grateful to have diplomatic alternatives." The camera pulled back to show the memorial garden. Each flower represented one of the wars Helen had prevented. There were thousands of flowers. "This ends when we say it ends," Nathan continued. "You will have peace, but only on our terms. You will have safety, but only under our protection. You will have mercy, but only when we choose to give it." He looked back at Helen's statue. "My friend died believing that talking was better than fighting. She was right. But she also died proving that sometimes the only way to protect talkers is to be very, very good at fighting." The broadcast ended, but its message echoed across the galaxy. There would be no negotiation, no compromise, no return to the old ways. Humanity had revealed its true nature, and that nature was something the universe had never seen before. A species capable of choosing mercy, and equally capable of ensuring that mercy was never again mistaken for weakness. On 1,000 worlds, alien children asked their parents the same question: why did we hurt the humans? The parents had no good answer. They had been jealous of human success, afraid of human influence, angry that upstart humans had become so important so quickly. But mostly they had been stupid. They had seen human kindness and thought it was weakness. They had seen human patience and thought it was fear. They had seen human diplomacy and thought it meant humans could not fight. Now their governments were gone. Their fleets were destroyed. Their assassins were dead. And the galaxy had new rules written in fire and blood. The worst part was that humans had warned them. Helen Martinez had spent 15 years showing aliens what humans could be when they chose peace over war. Her very existence had been a demonstration of humanity's true strength, the ability to choose mercy when they had the power to choose destruction. The aliens had killed her for it. Now they were learning what humans became when that choice was taken away. In the empty council chambers on Sanctum Prime, a single message played on every screen. It was Helen's last speech, given the day before she died. Peace is not the absence of war. Peace is the choice to be better than our worst instincts. Every day we choose talking over fighting. We prove that civilization is possible. Every day we choose mercy over vengeance. We prove that the future can be brighter than the past. The recording ended with her gentle smile, the same smile that had prevented 14 wars and saved billions of lives. The galaxy would never see that smile again. But they would remember why it had been so important to earn it.